All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 91 of Keeping It Rio. This is going to be an amazing one. I'm very excited for our guest today. We've got Stan Bastek, the VP of Marketing and Sales for Atlas here in the house. So let me hit the intro real quick, and we're going to be back with one of the best conversations of the week. Boom. And like that, here we are. The man himself has appeared on the scene. Stan, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Chuck. It's good to see you, man. Can't wait to keep it Rio with you on this Friday.
Oh, dude, this is going to be a lot of fun. I can assure you of that. I've got plenty of things to talk about. Some are not relative to roofing, but most of them are. So we got a couple good ones. Where are you coming at us from today? You down in Georgia?
Yeah, I'm down in Georgia, man. I'm in my basement. I'm in my hole trying to wrap the week up, getting ready for a good weekend, taking the family down to the beach next week. So that should be good. Get a little R&R for fall break. So
Absolutely. I don't know anybody that works harder, so you definitely deserve that. I'd like to thank you right off the bat because I think you're in the room that has all that blue and yellow stuff, right? From the last podcast we did.
From it, man. I tried to shield you from
Well, see, I was ready for you down here. I got a couple signed footballs. We're going to discuss that, but yeah.
I'm ready for you too.
There we go. So since the last time we spoke, which was at RoofCon, I believe, an absolute miracle has happened, and the Wolverines won against the Buckeyes. So I'd like to open up Keeping It Rio because I know how legit you are as a fan. I would like for you to gloat for the next 30 seconds because this could be the chance of a lifetime. May never happen again. What do you got to say? Go Bucks, right?
I will say this, that winning feels good, and it's better for the rivalry for us to win at least once every 10 years. I'm pretty sure you could agree with that. But it's not only did we win, but you have not beaten us in well over 2 years now. So I'm just saying there happened to be like a missed game or something like that in COVID. I don't know. That was very debated.
Well, it extended our winning streak too. So I guess it's fair to go both directions with that, right? So congratulations on that. Like I said, it is good for the rivalry, and it's cool to be able to have a friend that I can chop it up about that with, because it is serious business and we all take it very seriously. So that's pretty cool. Man. And that's a great way to start the show today. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get down to business. Right?
I'll say go blue.
There you have it. Go blue. And I won't even edit that out. I'll play it as it is, unadulterated. So Stan, you've been around in the industry for a while. You're the VP, the big dog over at Atlas. Basically, you're the face of the organization, I would say. And you're a young guy, right? Like, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, it's all good. I'm 39. I've been with Atlas for coming up on 16 years. This is all I've known from a professional perspective, but it's I've been very fortunate to be in this industry, and I think is the best time to be in this industry in terms of the change that's happened. And I got into a company at Atlas that really just was embracing that change and, looking for people, ready to be a part of that growth. So, there's probably 5, 6, 7 people in, sales management or senior management roles at Atlas that started within that, 15 to 20 year ago period. And, there's a lot of people making a big impact on this company. And I'm sure you could see that in a lot of places around this industry that, we have a great sense of pride and ownership in what we're building. And I think a lot of that just comes from the fact that it was like a period of just absolute rapid growth and change, 15 years ago in the building materials business, but roofing in particular.
Yeah, and I've been here through the whole thing as well. It's been amazing to watch. This is 24 years for me in the business. So it's like I've seen it really evolve from basically, the guys were writing their measurements down with a chisel and a rock up to, iPads and stuff. But it has been an amazing shift. And that's really kind of cool that Atlas has been basically your entire history in this industry. What led you to Atlas in the first place? Were you, always dreaming of getting into the asphalt life, or was it just kind of something that just kind of happened?
Yeah, sometimes things just happen like crazy, crazy circumstances. But I had very little exposure to building materials and construction, and I think that that's probably pretty typical for a lot of people. Like I just it wasn't something I had a great exposure to, and therefore I wasn't necessarily saying there's an industry I got to go be a part of, right? And I've heard that so many times anecdotally talking to people that got in and were like, wow, why didn't I hear more about this as a career path? Whether it be, working at a contracting company, there's fantastic sales careers, or starting my own business as an entrepreneur, or working in a professional manufacturing operation environment. And look what's happened with the distribution side. Like there's fantastic careers all over the place. But I think, 10, 15 years ago, our industry did a terrible job of trying to expose people, young people in particular, to this industry. And I think they're doing better at it now. But what I would say is I stumbled into this, right? My dad was in the military, so we moved every 3, 4 years growing up. And that was what I knew. I knew a military lifestyle. I knew get up, pack your stuff every 3 years because you're going to go make new friends and go to a new school, right? Like that's what I knew. And I even considered going and joining the Coast Guard because that was something I thought about doing. But had a good experience in school, bartended, and I met somebody at a bar one night that worked for a temp agency. And I'm like, I like bartending, but I sure wish I could get a steady paycheck and a little bit more sleep. And she's like, well, I work for a temp agency. I could probably put you somewhere. So literally the next day she called me and said, hey, I've got an opening at Atlas Roofing. And I'm like, that's random. Okay, let's go. And I went and ran the mailroom and, made coffee and printed sales reports and did expenses for the executive team at Atlas's corporate office. Was my first job in the industry for 3 months, and just getting exposed to this. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Like this is a neat industry. I didn't know this even existed. It wasn't even in my sphere of possibility.
Most people end up like that. I was the same way. I was mad at my job. I worked at a drywall company and I was mad at my job, just not wanting to do it anymore. And I just randomly saw a roofing supply company that was hiring on the side. There's a little sign, and here we are 24 years later. But that is
Yeah.
amazing that the VP started from a temp service. Like that's the greatest story ever. So I mean, literally started at the very, very bottom.
Yeah,
And
I started at the front desk, and it's I would tell you, if you have a mindset of, I'll do anything if I'm given an opportunity, that mindset can serve you very well. And I think that that's always been something I've taken very, much to heart. And I talk to other people in our organization, and I think that that's something, especially young people starting out in their career, just have a yes attitude, right? Like, what can I do to go, earn it and hunt? And people will notice that. They'll find you and they'll ask you to do more things. They'll want you to be involved in things. So I think that's something that served me very well.
without a doubt. And I think something else that serves you well is your energy. And I can only imagine that as a younger guy, you probably even had more abundance of that going on. And that probably got you pretty well noticed as well, right? I mean, I have to imagine you've been pretty popular since day one at Atlas.
I think a positive attitude is infectious, and it's also something that attracts other positive, attitudes to you. And so I think that's something I've always tried to be, is not just high energy, but positive energy. I think it's important for your own mental health. Everybody's going to have down days. Everybody's going to have stuff they got to do that they don't like to do, but staying positive is key. And if you can be high energy at the same time, again, I think you shock people out of your system. And so, I probably had to have a little bit of taming of that energy at times. I've had some people that have had to kind of corral that in, and say, hey, we love the energy, but, hey, let's taper it in a little bit. But fortunately for me, some of those same people didn't taper in some stuff that probably, helped us in a lot of ways as both a company and me professionally. I mean, I remember, telling my boss that I wanted to go, out and do this roadshow series wearing a money suit and throw, hats into the audience and scream and shout. And, he didn't say no. He said, well, if you think that's going to be effective, let's give it a try. And, it's something simple, but it's like, I think if you're in management of any kind, if you're responsible for other people, you have to take their ideas and you have to let them go break some eggs, right? Because you don't know, as a manager, whether something's going to work or not. You just have educated guesses and opinions based on your own experience. So that's another thing I learned about being a good manager is you have to let people go try some stuff out, even when it's not necessarily something that seems like it's going to be that great of an idea.
Well, the roadshow was the greatest idea of all time. I'm not going to lie, and that's where I first met you. And you were wearing the said money suit at that point. It was in Houston, and I actually got my very first piece of Atlas swag, which was an umbrella during the Family
Oh yeah,
Feud deal
man.
that you were doing. So
Oh yeah. What's that streaking?
exactly right. I've got a giant magnet over here of a dude, and he's running. Our roofs don't streak, and I'm wearing my asphalt hat today. I even broke out the darker blue one in honor of
I
my
love
friend
it.
Stan. So,
Love
I
it.
didn't have a scarlet and gray one.
I wore a little red just for you.
I respect it and I appreciate it. So, yeah, I think the energy and I've been working with Atlas for I guess now about 17 or 18 years. And I started off in distribution in Ohio and I ended up moving down to North Carolina for a while. And Atlas was one of our two brands that we had over there. And I remember that was in I think when I started that was in 2010. And then was it 11 that Scotch Guard was unveiled into the world?
Yep.
And that's changed everything for Atlas, right? I mean, there was probably a period early on, and I'm sure you've gone through the entire, all manufacturers do. Everybody's got problems and everybody's got things that they need to fix. Atlas, has, I think, gone further than any other manufacturer in the industry over the last 10 to 12 years. And I don't even think it's close, quite frankly. It's been an amazing transformation. And one thing I've always appreciated was I remember back in, I guess it was 2010 or 11, it was Stephanie with Atlas. And she came into my office in Charlotte with our rep and she was asking me for input on, what's right, what's wrong, what can we do better, how can we improve? And I'm not going to lie, Atlas is the only manufacturer that ever listened and actually implemented those things. And it's crazy because I tell my guys now, back in the day, I told them the pallets weren't good and they were causing this to happen and they were folding on the bottoms and now everything's fixed and you see this beautiful product. But the evolution as it's gone, that's one thing I want to commend the entire organization is Atlas does actually take the feedback and actually, do something with it rather than just say, whatever, raise your price up a little bit and take it or leave it. That's something I've always appreciated. And is that something that's kind of, I mean, as the VP, obviously you're up at the top and your attitude probably does kind of rain down on everybody, but as a company as a whole, everybody's pretty innovative, right?
Yeah, we have an innovative culture, but we also don't have a top-down culture, which I think really helps as well. We have a culture that says, hey, if you see an opportunity to get better, that's really what's going to drive the decisions that are made, corporately. And so I think that's the other thing that really has served us well over the years. There's tons of great manufacturers out there in all different building materials, that have great marketing, great products. But we've really tried to say, if we're not improving the product and improving the marketing to empower contractors to be better each and every year, right, then we're really, we're going backwards. So you can't just say, oh, we've landed, we've figured it out, we've got the next best thing. So I think what that's really been the approach is we try to keep a very healthy pressure on R&D, operations, and sales to say, hey, what can we do to make it better? We got this feedback, right? For a short period of time, we'll try to, make the best of it, right? You talked about the overhanging bundles and a non-flat pallet, when we first came out with our different size shingle about 10, 12 years ago with the HP 42. One of our sales reps said something about it. He's like, well, it's not ideal, but we can call it easy grab technology. so I'm like, yeah, it's easy grab technology, but we knew we had to fix it, right? Because we knew it was creating problems. So it takes time. That's the other thing I think that is different. Like, you can change things about your digital marketing strategy like that, right? Like, you can change where you spend money to buy leads as a contractor. You can get your truck wrapped. To change things in operations at a big plant, it takes time. It's like moving an aircraft carrier versus turning on a dime with a digital marketing strategy. So that's one of the things that we've really, we have to have some urgency, but we also have to communicate, okay, this is not ideal, but how do we make it better, right? The sealant being on the top of our shingle, when we first came out with that, just the way we had the pattern, it created some trouble with, the nail guns getting gummed up. Well, we made an adjustment to the way that we did that, right? So it's little things like that. You just have to constantly be listening and asking for that feedback. And I think that goes for any business. If you are open to feedback and you actually create a culture where you want to receive it and you seek it out, you're going to make those changes and people are going to say, this company listens, right? And I think that's what we all want to aspire to be known for.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you guys are definitely at the lead of the pack there. Cause I mean, you just hit the nail on the head. And I forgot all about that. But I remember my roofers, we used to hand nail and they would be hand nailing the old ones with the dual glue. And man, my guys would
Yeah.
hate that. They'd by the end of
Yeah.
the day. But again, that's feedback. And that even the installers were appreciative. That was their feedback was this went from being our worst shingle to our favorite one. Keep selling them, keep selling them. And it's like, well, okay, cool, because that's what I was planning on doing anyways. But I think that's pretty amazing, and it's been an amazing evolution. And I guess it would have started with the Scotchgard partnership. Tell me a little bit about that. How did y'all get connected with 3M and Scotchgard? Because to me, it's the most brilliant marketing product that you could use. It makes Atlas the easiest product to go into a home and sell to a homeowner because they understand it.
Yeah. Well, I would say that we have a long and very successful partnership with 3M in general, and I think that there was a period of time 15 years ago where they had this concept for Scotchgard, but the a shingle was, I mean, shingles were $40 a square or something like that back then. So to add the amount of cost we would have had to have added to it, then it became like almost insurmountable from like a sales perspective and a cost perspective. And then a lot changed, right? GAF went and announced that it was going to all their shingles are going to be lifetime shingles, and I think within about 3 or 4 months, every manufacturer went from having 30 years and 40 years and 50-year shingles, where that was sort of the way we upsold, was on weight and on wind and all that, to all of a sudden everything's a lifetime shingle. We had a big identity crisis at that point, quite frankly, because our big hallmark back then, I kind of laugh about it now, was that it was a 35-year laminate versus everybody else's 30. And it was a good story. It was a way to have a differentiation, right, that could make us a little different. But when everything went lifetime, it was like, well, now what, right? Because we had a choice to make as an organization, and organizations, some folks that may be watching this face this all the time. Are we going to become commoditized and one of many, or are we going to do something totally out of the box and become unique and differentiated? And that's when we really started talking seriously with 3M about Scotchgard. And I think what we realized at that time was that was something that we could do and take a major risk on that most likely others would not do at that time. And it really paid off for us because it helped us elevate our brand using that 3M and Scotchgard brand. And it brings value to the homeowner because they're never going to deal with the streaks. It brings value to the contractor because it's something that, again, actually gives you something to sell in the home for more money. And then I think that it really provided a benefit for us to stand out from being anything other than just another weathered wood shingle that you could buy for, whatever. Right. So I think that was a turning point. And it also was a turning point in how we viewed other innovations at our company both in product and marketing.
Yeah. You know what? I almost forgot about that whole 35-year Pinnacle deal, but you're right. That was Atlas's thing back in the day. And it's always been something to separate from the pack. And that's kind of cool that you brought that up because, yeah, that would have been a major identity crisis because it's like, well, dang, everybody else is now doing this lifetime and we're 35. People still, I guess would buy into it, but finding that next way to completely separate from the pack. And I mean, honestly, that took Atlas and, no offense, you were there, from a lower tier product in
Yeah,
the eye of the consumer
no question.
to the top. And now, I mean, Atlas Pinnacle in these independent tests that Dmitry Lipinski does and all that ranks above these class 3 and class 4 shingles in almost every category. So
Yeah.
it's been an amazing thing.
There's some other fantastic products out there, but I think we are very proud to be able to look anybody in the eye and say we think we have the best product on the market. I think there's several products out there that are in that top tier category, and I would say there's other really good quality shingles and shingle manufacturers out there. But I think we're very proud to say we think we have the best, and we can't sit on that, right? I think that's the other thing we know, and It's interesting. I was actually, you talk about the 35. I don't know if it'll be able to show up on screen, but I was at my son's football game yesterday, and I was at the concession stand, and I'm like, oh, that looks like our shingle up there on that roof, here in Marietta, and there's Pinnacle 35 shingle bundles behind the booth. I sent a picture to my VP of operations. I'm like, hey, look at this. I found some old Pinnacle 35s. They're still sitting out there somewhere. So if anybody's got a repair, give me a call.
There you go. We've got the hookup for 2 bundles. But
Yeah, 2 bundles.
It's so cool how you find stuff like that. I remember when I first got into the industry, Atlas was obviously a shingle manufacturer, but was more known for actually producing felt paper, right? And
Yes,
I think at some point Atlas was like the biggest felt manufacturer in the country. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, you talk about a crazy, crazy situation. It just goes to show you, like, you have to be looking, around around the corner and over your shoulder. I think that there was this feeling by asphalt saturated felt manufacturers that this is an industry that'll go on forever. There's nothing, there's no product from overseas that could possibly replace good old fashioned 15 and 30-pound asphalt saturated felt. And once the first roll of synthetic hit the market here in the US, it was like, I mean, it took 2 years and the market had transformed, it seemed like, right? There's still a little bit of felt sold out there, don't get me wrong, but I think it's amazing, what happened. And so we manufactured asphalt saturated felt at multiple plants, and we actually came out with one of the first synthetic underlayments, really because our sister company was able to actually produce that product, one of the hood organizations. And so we launched it not thinking it would ever threaten the felt business, but it really did. We made a really, really good felt because we also made our own paper, and we couldn't make the paper light enough to make a lightweight 15 or 30 pound. So our stuff was beefy and bulky, and people said, man, it's the best felt out there. Right. So we prided ourselves in that, but there's nothing like a crisis to get you to do your best work, right? When you face a crisis of, well, what just happened to all our felt orders? Oh, they're all going to synthetics. Oh, well, what just happened to our 35-year story? Oh, everything's a lifetime now. Oh, like, there is nothing like a crisis. I've always said I'd love to be a fly on the wall when other companies are going through crisis, just to see if it's as crazy as ours, right? But you get your best work out of yourself and your people when you have to solve a big problem.
Yeah, you guys definitely solved a few. And I mean, with the felt production, I mean, obviously it's been cut to a fraction. Do you guys even do any felt paper at this point with
We
Atlas?
do. Yeah, we sell some. We sell some 15 and a little bit of 30. I mean, there's little pockets left, and there's contractors that just, they're not changing no matter what. There's some areas that have options of double layering synthetic or double layering 30-pound felt, or full deck ice and watering, for example. And some people still say, yeah, I'll double layer the 30. So there's different areas that may drive that, but it's really, it's small at this point. The market has really shifted to synthetics, and the market's also shifting again. There's way more full deck ice and water being installed nationwide now than I think we ever thought there would be. And again, some of that's been code driven, but that creates potential issues down the road too with the decking, right? Because it's hard to get that stuff off the deck. But I think that there's always something changing in that underlayment category, and a lot of it is really driven by the local building codes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm here in San Antonio, and it's just in the 4 years I've been here, I've seen things change so much from, there was 4 or 5 layers of felt on these houses, and now we're tearing off jobs that have synthetic on them. So it's
Yeah,
almost an evolution, which
yeah,
is pretty
we've hit that
cool.
cycle.
I tell my cleanup guys, you're all going to love this invention once you find out about it. It happened about 12 years ago, but once you guys figure it out underneath this roof, you guys are going to
Yeah.
love cleaning this stuff up. But that is really such a cool story, and that really embodies what Atlas has been and why I've been such a huge fan and have been so loyal, because really it is everything that could go wrong goes wrong, but instead of having things go wrong, everything seems to just come up roses for you guys. And I think it's a huge testament to the mindset that you guys have about, like you said, just hunkering down and figuring out how to make the best of the situation. You guys have I think done better than anybody in this industry as far as that is. And it's really cool because I didn't even really think about some of that stuff as being, oh my gosh, some of that probably there were people that may have even been worried about their futures and, about the company in general, I would guess, right?
Oh, no question. I think you do a lot of soul searching and figuring out what, what the future looks like. And, I think we just slowly but surely kept investing in our plants. Our owner had a very focused mindset as we could justify it, right? We put capital into our plants for quality. We put capital into our plants for innovations that are going to drive sales. And again, we've been able to really look at that as a path to our success. You have to be investing in these plants to make them better, faster, but also producing at a higher quality. And that's, I think, been a big part of it. So it's I talked about that sort of sense of urgency and crisis driving things, but it's it really can't be understated that you kind of need to, you don't want to manufacture a crisis, but again, you kind of need to make sure that you always keep a certain amount of pressure on yourself as an organization and your people to know that we can't sit idly by because no one else is, right? And I think there's been a lot of innovations that we've seen out of that, but I think that's something that that's what keeps me up at night. If I'm honest with you, it's hey, how do we make sure that we stay hungry, right? And I think that's part of it, is just looking for the next opportunities and pitching it as a threat to the organization, right? If you're not, there's that typical SWOT analysis, the 4-box SWOT analysis. But that's something I think any business owner needs to think about on a constant basis. What are we really strong with? What are our weaknesses? Where are the opportunities and where are the threats? If you're constantly going through that process of every 6 months, doing a SWOT analysis, both on yourself as a leader and where the organization's at, you'll stay ahead of things that, could surprise you.
Yeah, man, that's pretty deep right there. I love it. So you guys have definitely stayed ahead of the curve. You've done such a great job with it. You mentioned the facilities. I think back when I was in distribution, there were not a whole bunch of Atlas facilities, but what do you guys have now? I know that there's a new one that's getting ready to pop up here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, we have 5 shingle facilities, one in Georgia, one in Mississippi, Texas, Oklahoma, and Ohio. And our Oklahoma facility actually just got a major upgrade this year. So it was the last manufacturing facility that we had that only made 3-tab shingles. And we actually announced late last year that we were getting out of 3-tab shingles. And that really came with the putting a laminate shingle line in that Oklahoma facility. So today we're a laminate shingle company. We make our Storemaster Shake, which is our high-end impact resistant product. We make the Pinnacle Pristine with Scotch Guard, and then we make a Pro Lam, which is more of a, again, builder grade, or again, it's a really high quality product. It's got our HP 42, but it doesn't have the Scotch Guard, doesn't have other bells and whistles. So when you look at that, we said, what's our identity going to be? It's going to be to make the best laminate shingle. And so that's really was the biggest thing we've done in our facilities in the last couple of years. And then we just announced a new plant will be built and we'll be shipping product in Q4 2020. 5. Got to do the math right. So it's a little bit away, but about 3 years from now, we'll be shipping product out of a new location in the Midwest. We haven't revealed the location of that, but we have a site. We have a lot of excitement around that, and we're really, really gearing up for big growth to be able to spread the Atlas product into new markets.
I love that because I think that it's the best product of the entire industry. So it needs to be in every possible market. And that brings my next question. Atlas is kind of, back in the day, it was more of a regional type deal. And there was like an Atlas on this side. And then people said that Malarkey was kind of like the Atlas of the other coast, right? I don't think that's the case. And I think there's definite differences between the two, but has Atlas made its way further across the country? How wide is the exposure now of the company to
Yeah.
the industry as a whole?
Yeah, we ship as far west as Salt Lake City, Utah at this point. We don't have a huge presence there, but that's kind of the outer edge of our service area right now. We do have a really good base of business in Colorado, very little bit in Arizona. So we're kind of out there, but we really look at Colorado, Montana, the Dakotas as kind of that furthest west that we go today, right? That certainly could change, especially with new capacity. And again, we've been very successful of kind kind of working our way into markets. We're all over New England and the Northeast now. We weren't 10 years ago, right? So again, we've kind of figured out how to add capacity at our existing facilities. While we haven't added plants, we've added a lot of capacity at our existing facilities by improving equipment over the last 10 years. So, Malarkey and Atlas really did kind of have, almost a line, and they built a plant in Oklahoma, which really got them more into the Southwest. And we started seeing and competing with them a little bit more, but we have similar sizes, similar approaches. Obviously, things have changed a little bit with them in terms of ownership with Wholesome acquiring Malarkey, but they're a fantastic company with great people, and they have a really good story. And we think we have a really good story too. So you look at a couple of the smaller manufacturers in the industry in terms of total size and scale. Malarkey doesn't get all the way to the East Coast. We don't get all the way to the West Coast, but very differentiated and focused on contractors and focused on how to provide contractors with a really good product to bring in the home. So there's certainly a lot of similarities there. And now we compete a little bit more than we used to, now that we're both kind of, crossing that invisible line that, was out there just based on our service areas. But, now that they have a manufacturing facility in Oklahoma, we certainly compete with them a lot more than when they were shipping product all the way from California, Oregon. So it's the same thing for us. It just becomes so freight intensive that it just doesn't make sense to ship all the way to California, Oregon. Shingles are really, really heavy, right? You're shipping, you can't max out that truckload. So, we just can't be competitive shipping that product with all that freight cost all the way to the West Coast.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And I love the fact that you guys are continuing to just expand upon your product lines as well. You talked about getting into the synthetics at the very onset, the ice and water and all that. You guys came out with a ventilation line, about 2 years or so ago. So now the Signature Select is really like, it's beefy. I love selling that to my homeowners, and I tell them, look, this is all going to be branded by Atlas. It's all going to have this name on it. It's all going to have the same thing. And that's a huge selling point in its own that I think a lot of manufacturers maybe lose sight of to a degree. And I think you guys have really marketed that so much better because, number one, you don't have to pay an arm and a leg to get into your program. You can be a general, just a regular roofer that, if you use these products, Atlas stands behind them. They know that you're going to do the right thing, and they're going to take care of it because they know it's going to be right. But I think that's a tremendous thing. My company here, Rio Blanco, when we bought this in 2019, it was out of business.
Yeah.
So, how am I going to get any kind of accreditation from anybody when it's like, well, me and this cricket over here, we've got a big plan on how we're going to build this company back up. But I had Atlas right there from the very onset. And I've been with Atlas, since day one with Rio, years before that. But that's the main reason, because you guys make it more friendly for the contractor. The programs are easy to get a hold of. I'm in the gold package now where I can offer, unlimited stuff. I can offer the 50-year non-prorated warranties and stuff like that. And I think that has also been a big separator for Atlas, because I don't have to charge the homeowner an arm and a leg either.
Right.
I can get a good price for the upgrades and all that and make everybody feel good about it. But it's just because of the quality. So when you guys start building all that stuff together and you start putting these systems together, obviously you're looking, we need to make sure we can maintain our Signature Select program as best we can. And I do believe that Atlas is the best in the industry with that. So, do you have any other new products that you guys might be looking to unveil anytime in the near future? I was talking with my Atlas rep over here, Brad, and he doesn't give away anything at all. So I'm coming straight to the top here and asking, do you guys have anything new coming out? I know that the ventilation stuff has gone really well. We just got a job done today with some Atlas stuff on it. And, what's down the line for Atlas, 2, 3, 4, 10 years down the road?
Well, I would tell you, whenever we're evaluating new products, we want to make sure there's a need and there's a significant enough opportunity, and that it's actually going to be bringing some value to either the contractor or the homeowner. So, that sounds pretty obvious, right? Like, that's kind of a pretty basic checklist, but we take that pretty seriously and vet things out. And, ventilation's a great example where, we could have gone and like private labeled a ventilation product just to say, hey, you get an Atlas box showing up at your job site. We didn't feel like that was the right approach for us, because we really wanted to make sure that we had more control over the quality, that we understood the airflow, and that we had multiple products, because there's a lot of different ventilation situations, right? I mean, I can't educate you or school you on how complicated ventilation could be. I could never learn as much as you have, I'm sure about that. But I think ventilation was one of those areas, and it's a good example of where we wanted to have a comprehensive package of products. So we went out and bought tools. We have some patents on these products, and we actually manufacture our own ventilation. That was really important to us to be able to do that, to get into that category. And I think that's really why that Signature Select system is what it is. We want to make it simple for contractors. We want to make it easy to understand and translate. And also, we don't want to be in the warranty sales business, right? We want to give you good products all around, and we want to be able to make it easy for you to go sell that in the home, right? Because the warranty should be the simple part, right? And I think that so when you kind of pivot to what new products are out there, we are looking at introducing a couple of new products next year. And if I say any more than that, I'll be in big trouble. But what I would tell you is stay tuned. IRE, we will be launching 2 new products that I think are going to be very exciting for our contractor base. And it's going to, again, be really focused on how do we provide more opportunities to upsell and attack things that homeowners are going to be very interested in. If you can create products that homeowners are going to be very interested in, that's going to make your job in the home and your sales job or your sales rep's job in the home that much easier and more exciting, right?
Yeah, because we all do get excited about this. That's the fun thing about it is I think everybody in my company actually really loves what we do. And when you convey that to the homeowner and they feel that energy with you, they can't help but love it. So that's pretty
Hey, man,
cool. I tried my best. I went fishing on you, trying to get you to.
Yeah, I know, but I'd be in big trouble. You almost got me though. You got the hook in a little bit.
I figured the VP. Who's going to fire the VP, right? I mean, Freudian slips happen sometimes.
We all have bosses.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. Good call on that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing stuff. And like I said, I've been with Atlas. I love working with you guys. During even COVID, I never had any issues. I was treated very well. And I'm not gonna lie, Rio Blanco is not a huge company by any means. We're still trying to dig out of the hey, we were out of business 3 years ago type mindset. But I go to the events and I mean, you guys come up and everybody there is just so nice, so friendly. Last year, I got to go golfing with Al Castaneda. I don't know what Al's title is with the company, but he's definitely a golf pro.
Oh yeah, he's a good golfer. So he likes to sandbag like most good golfers should.
Well, yeah, I appreciated that because it was the first time I'd actually golfed in like 25 years, right? And Brad Bellamy, my Atlas rep here, thought of me for whatever reason. He must have known something crazy was going to go down. So he thought of me and he put me in this pairing with Al and a couple of guys from North Carolina. Yep. And I hadn't played golf in 25 years, Stan. I don't even own golf clubs, right? I'm left-handed and I don't even know how to swing left-handed, but I'm going, and it happens to be at the PGA golf course, right? So we're not going to the public par 3. We're going right to the top here. The legit Rory McIlroys and all these guys play on these, and this is me. And it was a great time. I enjoyed it. Thank God it was just whoever hit the best ball, we would use that one, and whoever didn't, because I was more of like the test pilot kind of guy. If there's hey, maybe you can hit it over the water, Chuck, why don't you try? And then if you can't do it, we'll just go around. Or look at this putt that's like 9 miles long, Chuck, you go ahead and go first, buddy. And if I could have got one of the miracles to fall, I would have gotten a little respect out there. But it was a lot of fun. And the moral of that story is, I got to go golfing on a PGA course with one of the top guys at Atlas. A couple weeks after that, I'm at the NASCAR race in Texas Motor Speedway with Al again. And there's a huge spread back there. There's an RV, everything's catered. And I just kept thinking to myself, man, this is pretty cool. So that's why I enjoy Atlas, because the benefits of just being a partner and just working with you guys, you get to do some really cool stuff. And, sponsoring race cars and stuff like that that's something I can get behind.
It's fun. It's a great industry for a lot of reasons, but the stuff you just mentioned is really where it all happens. Like we we want to build really good long-term relationships with the people that we do business with, because these are the people we see so often when we're out on the trail. These are the people that rely on us, right? When you guys have issues or needs or things come up. And trust me, there was a lot of fires burning over the last 2 years with all the supply chain stuff. And so you got to go out and have some fun and really take care of your customers, but get to know your customers. And again, you guys are our friends. I mean, this is what we do. We spend more time with people we work with than just about anything else, I've got a family that I love and support, but man, you got to go and have some fun. And that goes back to that asphalt life, live, roof, play. We try to do as much of that stuff as we can. And we want to get to know you, get to know what makes you tick. I think that's why so many people get into this industry, whether it's on the contracting side, the distribution side, or the manufacturing side, and they stick, right? This is a very sticky industry because it's a relationship industry, right? Like, it's so cliche to even say it, but it is so true. Like, you can't go to an event, you can't go to a trade show, you can't roll into San Antonio and go knock on doors and talk to contractors and not know that relationships matter, right? Like, we're not transactional, right? Your partnerships with your suppliers are not transactional. They're interdependent relationships, right? Like, if we fail, you fail. If you fail, we fail. Like, and then when we succeed, we share in that success. And I think that's a really important mindset. If you're a roofing contractor today, running a business, or your sales rep, you got to look at your supply partners and have expectations that they're going to be just that, partners, right? And build that relationship, get to know people.
Yeah, you're spot on with that. I think that the days of, years gone by when I was in distribution, we'd have several guys that would, they'd leapfrog from whoever was going to sell them a bundle for 13 cents cheaper or whatever. But I think as we've evolved as an industry, I think as some of the old guard has kind of left and some of the younger people have come in, it's really transitioned more into what you just said. And now, I love everybody over at our Southern Shingles branch here in San Antonio. I work with SRS over in College Station, and they treat me amazing.
Yep.
And, they always give me a call. I got a text from one of the guys just about an hour ago, hey, you have anything coming up next week? I've got a couple spots on my truck. You can have them if you want them. Yep. And I mean, that's what this has always been about for me too, because of my background. I'm kind of like you. I started off as a flatbed truck driver.
Yeah.
And I kind of just kept going. And at one point I opened up a roofing supply company in North Carolina, and we did that for a little while. And, here I am today. I had never, I never dreamt of any of this, but I'm the same way. There have been many times when I've tried to get out of this industry. Believe me, I have tried on several occasions, and it just brings you right back in. And I'm totally resigned to the fact that this is going to be me for the rest of my life, and I love it. So
yeah, it's a good resignation, and it is what you make of it, right? Again, it's like you can go out and grind it away at work every day and allow yourself to fall into whatever that attitude looks like, or you can go out and just find a way to love what you do. And I think that you'll be more successful if you find a way to love it. And again, I think you'll attract other similar people. Again, I can't go through my social media feed and not see you doing amazing things and just promoting yourself and taking pictures on job sites, and you promote your people. Like, you are so good at promoting your people, and you have a network around you with Mike Code, and again your partners over at ASAP, and just everywhere you go you see people and you embrace them, and that's infectious, man. And it's like, again, I just encourage everybody to take that attitude, take that approach. Like, love what you do, be always looking for opportunities to learn and grow and meet new people. And that's what this industry is so fun for, right? But there's also people that just view it as a job, and it is what it is, but you miss out on a lot.
I agree. And it's crazy because I've got friends all over the country. I have people that fly in, buddy Eric Richardson flew in from San Diego a couple weeks ago, and we had lunch and just we're chatting. And I've got a friend in Milwaukee that calls me every couple weeks, and we talk for a couple hours. And to me, that's really the beauty of it. Like you said, is that we're all helping each other. I think that there's always going to be that archaic caveman mentality where it's like, kill or be kill, or, two roofers fighting over the same house when there's an entire neighborhood that could use their help. But it's very refreshing when you find people that are willing to help grow and develop other companies. The association, like you said, with Mike Code, I get to go and do consultations with sales teams all over the United States. Different roofing companies let me come in and I learn just as much from them as they do from me. That's for sure. But that's the beauty of this. You did just hit on something that I wanted to ask you about. The life of the VP is a action packed, I'm sure. You go to all the events, right? For the most part. I didn't see you at the one in Orlando that I was at with Lee Haight, but I did see Stephanie there. But most of the events I see you there. And at RoofCon last year, you were actually leading a breakout session. And that's not something I see any of the VPs of any of the other manufacturers doing. So number one, thank you for doing that, because I think being out there in the public eye is what's really endeared you to so many. But there's a downside to it, right? You're a family man. You've got a nice family and you love to do stuff with them. How much are you on the road versus actually at home in your own house doing these events and things that you get called to?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something that I think I always have to be evaluating, right? I just had another baby, so I got four now. So I have a 6 month at home, all the way up to a almost 15-year-old this month. And a freshman in high school playing football. He's a Boy Scout. I'm the scoutmaster for my son's Boy Scout troop, right? So I've got another full-time job responsibility doing that. So what I would say is, I do travel, right? And I think that it's a big part of my job. It's, being flexible and willing to do those things in any career is going to give you more opportunities than if you're inflexible and say, I can't travel, I can't do those things. So, I don't travel every week, but I do get out. And I think it's important. It's like that's what I think has made me successful, but also us successful, is being willing to get out and talk to people and then listen to people, right? Listen to people, talk to people. I probably got that out of order, right? But when you give presentations at events like this, you can also sort of, tell your story, right? And also you can, I try to bring value, not about talking about Atlas, but about talking about what's happening in our industry, trends, things like that, from the manufacturer's viewpoint. And I think a lot of those the situations that I present in, I really try to make sure that if I'm talking to a group of contractors, I want to give them some perspective on what they're dealing with the supplier's point of view, right, so to speak. And I think that's important. I want the contractor's point of view, and I think contractors can appreciate the manufacturer's point of view as well, whether you're buying from Atlas or not. If you're buying from anybody, you just want to know, hey, what am I dealing with, and so that's what I try to focus on. I'll actually be speaking at Dimitri's event coming up here in December as well. So it's, that's important to me. But again, that work-life balance it's so important, right? And I circle certain things on the calendar where I'm just not going to travel, not for anything, right? And then there's other things that you got to kind of just be flexible. You got to have a really, if you're in a partnership, a marriage, right, you got to have a really open line of communication with that spouse about, what that looks like. If you have kids, and whether you're married or divorced or whatever, you got to think about their needs, first, and figure out, okay, how do I work this around that, right? Everybody makes sacrifices, I think, is really what it boils down to. And, you don't want to look back though, and, in 10 years and your kids are all grown up and out of the house and say, what just happened? I missed this great opportunity. So I try to keep that pretty front of mind. And I have an amazing spouse. My wife, Colleen, is unbelievably supportive to, allow our family the opportunities that we have. You got absolute rock in your family that makes a lot of the other stuff easier, I'll say.
Yeah, because it's definitely not easy, and that's what I admire about it so much. I have four kids. Obviously, that's a full house, and
It's a
I'm
nut
sure
house.
there are probably some days where you're like, all right, well, shucks, I have to go to a conference. Twist my arm, get me out of here for a day or two. But I think that's extremely admirable, and I think that you definitely have your mindset correct. You're a family guy first, and then the business comes second. But it's so, yeah, you're so good at both, like it doesn't even seem like there's a lot of effort. I know it's not easy by any stretch. And I've seen you doing scouting and stuff like that. And I think that's probably the coolest thing is you put yourself out there too. A lot of people don't know much about, I couldn't tell you the name of any of the other people at the other organizations that are in manufacturing, right? But I know you're a Michigan fan. I know you got scouts, and I know you've got four kids. That's kind of the cool thing, is that Atlas really is that family organization that really brings you in, and just, it's never about anything other than that. And that's what I love about it. The product is the best. There's no question about that at this point. But the service and just the way that you feel just interacting. Brad Bellamy came in here the other day, and I'll give him a huge shout out. That guy he's first class, right? Every Atlas rep I've ever worked with has been first class, going all the way back to when I was in Charlotte. And you know, Brad will come in and he pops in, he's your buddy. He just shows up and, hey guys, what's going on? You know, you guys are killing it. I saw this on your social media, and you just feel like you're part of that family, and that loyalty is always going to be there for me for that very reason. And it's tough because obviously as a roofing contractor, everybody is competing for business, you know, and I get the reps from all the manufacturers to come in, and I tell them all, you know, pretty much straight up, hey, look, I'm happy with what I've got. If there's an opportunity, sure. Like I just did a job over in Jordanton, Texas, and I'm not gonna lie to you, we put certainteed on it. It was a price driven thing for the lady, but okay, you know, I don't have a problem with that. But I tell people, you know, if I'm going to present something, I want to give you something that I would put on my house that I believe in 100%, and that I know is going to stand behind it. Because in all these years, I've never had a single warranty claim with Atlas. Everything's always just been spot on. And there's a lot of comfort that comes from that. So I appreciate that.
We appreciate you saying it. And I what I would also say is you know, you should always do a job if somebody knows what they want to put on, right? I mean, if somebody tells you, I want GAF shingles, you know, do the job, put GAF shingles on. But I would also tell you, I do think you know, the thing that we've learned over the last many years, and I think has never been more evident than during COVID, is know what's out there, right? Know what options are out there. And whether it's shingles or, you know, some new, you know, again, whether it's some solar or whether it's, you know, Da Vinci tile, whatever it is, you gotta present the options to the homeowner. And then to your point, say, this is what I would put on my house, and let me tell you why. I think you're just that much more credible if you show the homeowner that there are options, right? And I think that it's just, sometimes it's just part of the deal, right? I mean, everybody's going to see value in different things. But again, you want to do business with things, A, that you believe in, and B, with people that you like, right? And we appreciate you, Chuck, man. You've been an unbelievable advocate and partner for us for so many years.
Oh, and I will be for the rest of my career. That's no doubt about that, 100%. And I remember that line that you just said from the Atlas Roadshow a long time ago, when it was like, if I don't remember the exact word, but it was like, if you've got your stuff and the people like you and they trust you, you can almost name your price.
Yeah.
And I remember that someone that I was there with was very disagreeable with that statement. And, oh no, that's not true. Everything's about price. And I don't think he was right. I think that we've shown that many times here in San Antonio. This is a tough market, but I can go out and I can be a couple $1,000s higher than somebody, and I can justify it very easily by saying, look, here's what we've got. Everything looks nice. Everything's perfect. Everything's got that. So you guys have done it. As the vice president of marketing, I give you 2 thumbs up, because Atlas markets itself better than anybody. Your materials are the best. I've got the folders with Mike Holmes on them, and I've got all those, you know, the brochures and the little samples I take into everybody. And it's just a first-class presentation. So you have done an amazing job.
I appreciate that, Chuck. And, you know, it's so interesting you said what you said about that person you interacted with years and years ago. And, you know, that's hypothetical person, right? But we manifest what we believe, right? Like, and you know, I'm not going to get all preachy about manifest destiny or something, but like, seriously, if that guy believes that he's only as good as his price, he is right for him in that space, right? Like, if he's afraid of his price, and if that's what he has convinced himself, if you believe you can name your price, you're right. And again, we're going to do whatever we can to make our beliefs a reality, you know, to drive those goals. So I think that's just the other thing. People's mindsets absolutely become their reality.
Yep, no doubt about it. I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that's, you know, it's gotten a guy with zero ability, zero intelligence to this point in life where I've got a vice president on my podcast today. So I don't know.
Keeping it real, baby.
Yeah, we're keeping it real for sure. So we're getting ready to wrap this up. I try to keep the episodes around an hour. So I very, very much appreciate your time today, Stan. You are awesome. I do have one last thing I want to talk about, which we kind of touched on at the very beginning. Since you guys are now on a bit of a roll, you guys are up there in the top 5, and I don't know what the exact ranking is. 4th, was it? Or
yeah, we're 4, you're 3. I'm keeping
okay. I wanted you to say that out loud on camera. So we're gonna restart this rivalry. This year we've got our revenge tour that we're gonna do,
The
and
revenge tour. You can't steal the revenge tour, man.
we stole the revenge tour. We took the soul from the revenge tour. I was at that game in the shoe, and believe me, there was no soul left.
Oh,
But
that's great.
so we've got this coming up this year, and I'd like to just say, hey, best of luck to you. Obviously, I'm rooting for the Buckeyes, but I think we should have a friendly
I'm
wager
rooting
of
for
some
the
sort.
Buckeyes too. I am going to be the biggest Buckeye fan until that day. So I hope you'll be the biggest Michigan fan, because nothing will make that game more fun than if we are both undefeated rolling into the shoe.
I agree. Now, I can't guarantee that I'll be the biggest Michigan fan until then, but I'll try my best, right? I won't root against because I saw the schedule. There's nobody on that schedule that I'm going to root for other than the Buckeyes. But here's the deal. Okay. I always try to find a nice, happy little wager of some sort. And if you'd be game for this, I think this year would be a good one. I will be more than happy. Well, I wouldn't be more than happy, but I'll do it. I'll be willing to do this if you'd want to do it. Winner of the game, the loser has to wear the hat and a shirt and has to publicly post it on social media. What do you think?
I'm totally game, and I think we should actually up the ante just a little bit. We'll have to appear on the Keeping It Rio podcast in that. How does that sound? For a follow-up discussion.
My friends will disown me, but you know what? This is something that I'm getting myself in a bad spot here. And I did this to myself, but I remember many years ago, I actually had to move because I lost a bet on the Penn State game back in the 90s.
Oh, geez.
I actually had to move out of town because it didn't work out for me. So let's just hope that we've got this stuff figured out this year. The new defense is going to be good, but either way, it'll be fun. And I will commit 100% that if somehow the law of averages doesn't work out and Michigan wins, I will wear a Michigan hat and a shirt on Keeping It Rio. So I think that's pretty good.
Rock and roll. We have an agreement.
There you go.
It's documented.
That's a good one. That's a good one. It's documented. I'll actually clip this and I'll put it out to the public so people will hold us accountable. And boy, I'm going to pray. But that's a pretty good way for us to end our podcast.
You've been to several of my things, man. You know, you keep praying, hoping. Hope is not a strategy, man. You better hope you got more than hope.
That's true. I know I got more than hope this time. I'm good. I don't like to get involved in stuff that I'm not directly involved. I'm not going to be playing in the game by any means. I'm too old at this point. Although I think I could maybe still get out there and sling it a little bit. I could give these guys a little run for their money. But
I know I can't. Trust me, I got a freshman playing freshman football, and I even bump into him now, and I'm hurt. I'm like, oh man. Ooh.
Yeah, right. It comes on us quick. So that's pretty awesome. I think that's a great way for us to end this conversation is with the bet from the game. Stan Bastek, VP from Atlas, Sales and Marketing. Thank you so much for taking the time on a Friday to be on Keeping It Rio. And we will definitely do this again at the end of the season when one of us is going to have a very memorable event. So
one of us will painstakingly have to wear the other stuff. But Chuck, thank you, man. I appreciate you. I love Keeping It Real with you, and I appreciate the friendship and the partnership over the years. And have a great weekend. And thanks again for having me. Episode 91. I'm honored.
Episode 91. It's coming out on Tuesday, so we'll get this thing out to the public and everybody will enjoy it next week. So thank you for this, Stan. I appreciate it. Thank you to everyone for watching. And until next time, this is Keeping It Rio.